Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Level Up. We are going to be learning a little bit about 3D modeling and printing, and we're going to have a good time tonight. So I'm really excited to share with you all. So the first thing I want to do is just share a short video with you. Mr. Words, I'm going to start today by just showing you a short video that's going to explain a little bit about 3D printing. This is from National Geographic Kids, and I think it does a good job of explaining how this technology works.
We'll just got some 3D printers, and Natio let me borrow one to figure out how they work. But to be honest, I've just been using it to print tiny cats. It's like a tiny printed cat army. Cute, but no idea how I made them. These printers look super complicated. You know what? I'll just print an expert to help me out.
Hey Camry, I'm Cody Goldhahn, mechanical engineer and Nat Geo expert.
Wow, that thing really works.
What?
Nothing. So, Cody, can you tell me how a 3D printer shapes things so perfectly? Is it like a robot sculptor?
Not exactly. A person who sculpts stone removes chunks of a stone until it's in the desired shape. That's called a subtractive process. A 3D printer does the reverse. It's called an additive process. This means that the printer starts with nothing and then adds just enough material to make the same shape as a sculptor. It wastes less material than in traditional manufacturing.
It looks like it's icing a cake.
Yep, it's just like a whole bunch of icing layers on a cake. A really hot extruder nozzle squeezes out liquid plastic layer by layer, right up to where the computer program tells it to. Once the layer is done, the extruder raises up just enough for that next layer to get squeezed out on top.
Can a 3D printer print with other stuff?
Oh yeah, you can print with plastic, ceramics, glass, metal. Some scientists have even found a way to print with biological tissue.
Wow, kind of like how I printed you.
What?
Nothing.
Possibilities of 3D printers are endless. There's many different shapes and sizes of 3D printers. They can print houses, dental implants, complex bridges, even pizza.
Printable pizza, that's so cool. So how does the printer know how to print the exact shape of my cat toy?
Think about you and your computer as the toy designer. You draw a blueprint of anything you can imagine with your computer, creating a digital model. The computer then looks at your digital model, slices it up into layers, just like icing on the cake. Once it knows right where to put the icing, it tells the printer to squeeze out on that exact spot until the whole model is built just like your blueprints.
Wow, thanks so much for your help, Cody. You truly are one of a kind.
Hi, Camry. I'm Cody Goldhahn, mechanical engineer. How can I help you?
I didn't know you had a twin.
So that just is a little bit of background of how 3D printing works. But before you 3D print, you have to have a 3D model. And there are places that you can go to get pre-made models. But tonight, I want to teach you how to make your own models. The reason why you want to make your own models is because, first of all, working in 3D space is going to help increase your spatial intelligence. You'll be able to move things around and rotate things and add to things in a 3D space, which will help you in getting jobs that have virtual components to them and so forth. It's also going to help you express your ideas. I remember back a long time ago, sitting at a restaurant, sketching an idea out on a napkin and wishing that I could show someone exactly what it would look like. Well, now you can. Now you can make a 3D object look exactly as you want it to look and be able to print it out and hold it in your hand. It also helps you understand how to navigate in 3D space and offers you additional job opportunities when you start moving into the workforce. And the best part about it is fun. So in Pinellas County, we have 3D printers in a lot of schools. Some of your art teachers have 3D printers. I would say most of your tech media specialists have 3D printers. and they need you kids to help them get motivated to use those printers. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to make some models, and I'm hoping that you will share with your art teacher, share with your media specialist that you have made these models and you would perhaps like to print them out. If they have any trouble or any questions, you can tell them to contact the art office lady. My name is Julie Levesque. But I don't want you to have to remember that. But if you tell your art teacher to contact the art office lady about 3D printing, if they have any questions, I will definitely help them. We're trying this year to get more 3D printed artwork in our county shows, and I know you guys can do it. So the first app that we're going to be using tonight is what they call a web app, meaning the app lives on the internet and you can use it from any device that you own. Tonight, I'm using a Mac computer, so it works on a Mac. I'm hoping that you guys have your one-on-one devices that the school issued you, and you can work on those. You could even watch this presentation on your parents' computer and work on your school device at the same time. With this app, you can draw with a trackpad, a mouse, or even the touch screen on your one-on-one device. In order to get to the app, which is called Sculpt GL, I think the easiest way to get there is to just Google Sculpt GL, and it'll be the first link that you see. You can also, if that's not working for you, type in the exact website, which is listed below. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to navigate to that website because I know you're already doing it. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get my web browser up, and then we're going to start. So this is the app called Sculpt GL, and I'm going to start by going through some of the menus and the tools that you're going to be using to sculpt. The first, you have a menu bar across the top. The first menu item is Files. I'm going to talk about this at the end when we get ready to save our creations. The next menu is the Scene menu. With this menu, you can clear a scene. That takes away everything in the scene. You can add to the scene. So I added my sphere back. You can turn on the mirror line, which I have on. I had on from before, so now it's off and now it's on. I like the mirror line on because we're going to work in symmetry. Symmetry is when things are the same on both sides. You can also turn off that grid below so that your object looks like it's floating in space, or you can see the bottom of it. That's just a personal preference. The history is how you undo and redo things, but if you'll notice here to the right of undo and redo, it gives you what's called a shortcut. A shortcut is a set of keys that you can use on your keyboard that will do the same thing as this menu. So on your keyboard, if you hold down the Control key and tap the Z, it will undo what you just did. If you do that same operation with the letter Y, it will redo. So I will be doing that, I'm sure, throughout my sculpting tonight because I am not perfect at this. Background we'll talk about at the end. We're not going to use the camera, the tablet pressure, the language, or the extra UI. About and Help will take you to a webpage that has tutorials and a lot of other good information about this app. So now on to the fun stuff. Over here are our tools, and what I'm going to sculpt today is just a face. And what I love about this app is I can just start sculpting with no real idea in mind as to what I want to make. And it just always starts to look like something to me. And so that's what I'm going to do tonight. So the first of all, as I said, this is automatically set in symmetry. So the symmetry means it's going to be the same on both sides. If you ever don't want that, you can just uncheck it. Also, most every tool, and this is the brush tool, almost every tool has a radius, which is how big around the brush is. And if you see here on my tool, there's 2 dots because it's going to draw on both sides at the same time. And that circle, which will get larger or smaller, depending on how high I put the radius. So that's a giant brush. And then this is a teeny tiny brush. Okay, the other thing that you can do in these settings is intensity. Intensity is how strong the tool is. So if you're using the tool and you don't see anything happening, then you probably should raise the intensity. If you using the tool and it's really too strong, it's like making a hole or too big of a line or a crease, then you can lower the intensity. And last of all, most tools have a negative feature, meaning if it's an inflate tool that's blowing up your object like a balloon, you can hit the negative button and it will then deflate or make the air kind of go out of your balloon. So I'm going to start with a tool called the drag tool because I want to make this a face, and faces are usually more oval. So by clicking on the word brush, it pulls up a little menu for me, and then I can go to drag. And since I want to drag this whole shape out, I'm going to make my radius fairly large. Okay, now I can move my model around by clicking on the gray area in the background and just scrolling up to see the bottom of my model, down to see the top of my model, and then right and left. So if I scroll up, and it's hard to see because I turned that grid off, and I actually think I'm going to turn that back on so I can see where my model is in relationship to the ground. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up a little so I'm on the bottom of my model. I'm going to get my drag tool and I'm just going to drag down a little bit. I'm going to look at this from the side and kind of see how that looks. And I just, like I said, kind of want it to look a little bit like an oval. You can also kind of drag here from the middle, but we don't want this to look too much like a double chin. So I'm going to just work on this part a little. And I'm not going to spend too much time making this perfect today because I just want you guys to get the idea of how to use it. So this guy's got a crazy double chin going on, but I can live with that. So I'm going to make this a little smaller, drag this out a little on the side. You also have a smoothing tool. So where you see those lines there, if you want to smooth that out a little, you can go to smooth. And I can kind of smooth over this. If it's not doing anything, you can raise the intensity, raise the size. And that's smoothing that out just a little bit there. Okay. And remember, whatever I'm doing on one side, it's also happening on the other side. If I want to move this model up because I've pulled the chin down, I can go to the transform tool. And when you click on the model and the transform tool, you can rotate it with these outer rings and you can move it with these different arrows. So if I want to move it up, I'm going to click on the up arrow and just drag it up a little so that I can see it all the way in the view. All right, going back to my tools again. I'm going to start with the brush tool, and when I click back on here, that little transform tool will go away. And now I'm going to sculpt some eyebrows with that brush tool. And I'm drawing with a mouse. You definitely will be able to draw better on your trackpad with your finger. But there's my brows. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it to the side a little and work on a nose. For the nose, I'm going to use the tool called Inflate because while the brush tool will lay down like an even layer of clay, the Inflate tool will make the clay blow up like a balloon. And that's kind of what I want with my nose. So I'm going to kind of come down here in the middle and make my nose. And I can see this better from the side. I can kind of see it inflating. And it's a little large, so I'm going to make this a little smaller. And I'm just kind of moving my mouse on the tip of that nose, trying to get it to get a little larger, a little more inflated is the word that we're using here. Okay, and I got some action going over here on the sides, which I'm not really sure why that is happening. But as I said, you just kind of play around with this. You can try the different tools. I don't like what's going on the side there, so I'm actually going to hit my Control Z and undo a little bit of that. I'm going to try the drag tool because I'm not happy with how that inflate tool is working. And I had the radius of this really large before, and so now I'm going to lower it a little and see if I can't drag this nose out a little bit. Oh, there we go. Okay, so let's make a crazy nose on our alien. And then over here, I'm going to go on the sides a little bit with that inflate tool and make some nostrils. Let's make this a little stronger and a little bigger. Okay, so there's something happening here on my model that I want to talk about. If you can see how it almost looks like my model is shredding a little bit. If you want to print these, you want to try to avoid that. So it doesn't happen very often, but if it does, you can undo it and try again. But you can also go to another menu here on the right called Topology. And if you go to Topology and you click this Remesh button, it will flatten your model. Oh, I need that Control Z again. It'll flatten your model out a little and make it a little bit better for printing. I'm going to do it one more time. Another option I have is to go to that tool and try that smoothing tool again. Because you want the, it's called the mesh. You want the outside layer of your model to be nice and smooth. And it'll just print so much better that way. Okay, so there's my nose. Now I'm going to go back to the brush tool, and this time instead of using the regular brush tool, I'm going to use the negative version. So when I say I'm going to a tool, if you can look to the right, you'll see when I'm clicking. I click the brush, I'm clicking negative, and I'm going to make the radius a little bigger and try to make some kind of sockets for my eyes. This is where I'm going to end up putting my eyes. Okay, so there's my eye sockets. And now I'm going to use the inflate tool to make the eyeballs. I think I'm going to make him a little cross-eyed, just for the fun of it. And I'm kind of going around in a circle because I want to leave a little bit of a little divot, a little hole in the middle for the iris. Or for the pupil, I mean. Okay, there's another good tool that makes kind of little holes, little creases, and that's called the crease tool. And for the crease tool, it starts on negative because it's a tool that punches in. I can also make a little crease up here under the brow. That's just going to make that show up a little bit more. I can even kind of outline these eyes a little bit. Maybe even out here on these sockets. Okay, so the crease tool is a good tool for making creases. All right, so I'm going to go back to my brush tool and I'm going to do some lips for my alien. Let's make him, nope. So you see I'm on negative, so I'm going to my Control Z and undo that, uncheck my negative, and try to make some lips. That's too big. Control Z. And this is what I love about digital art is you always have a second chance. The only thing you have to be careful about is undoing too many times to where you don't end up with anything. So just kind of be weary of that or leery of that. Okay, so I'm working on his mouth, kind of filling it in. And this is another good use for that crease tool. I can come in here and do some creasing. And now I'm going to try to get fancy and make some teeth. Not sure how this is going to look, but let's see. Can we just drag out some crazy little teeth there? I don't like that. And then this would be a time I would turn symmetry off because I don't want two teeth. I just want one tooth there in the middle. Oh, he's creepy. And it's just fun. I'm just having fun. Okay, I'm going to go back here and try to make ears. Another kind of tricky one for me, but I'm going to try to just drag these ears out a little. Too small, so I'm going to Command Z. And drag these out a little more. And hopefully you're having a little fun kind of playing along with me. I wish I could see what you guys were doing. Oh no. Okay, so I didn't do my symmetry, so Command Z, I'm gonna undo that ear because I want the other one to look just like it. And I'll make this one snappy. All right, there's his other ear. Go back here to my crease tool, and I can put a little crease in there, a little hole for the ear. And I can put texture up here with that crease tool. If I want to put texture in the eyebrows, I can use the drag tool to drag out some crazy little spikes on his head. And I'm just going a little faster now because I have other things to show you. Okay, so here's my alien. I can turn him around, look at the back, and he's basically ready to print. I'm going to show you a couple more things on the menu that we didn't get to. Twist is a good one, but you have to be a little careful with twist because it will do that thing where it makes the model look shredded. But this looks good and smooth, so I'm okay with that. So that will twist your model. Flatten, I could use here on the bottom. If I wanted this to sit on a table, I could use the flatten tool. Just flatten a piece out here on the bottom. So now it's flat and it could actually sit after I print it. And you probably want to make that as big as the area that you want to flatten. Okay, so that looks good. So that's the flatten tool, just making sure we got to all of these. Pinch tool, you can pinch in on an area. So I can start here and pinch in on the nose a little bit here. I'm going to raise the intensity of that just a little because I don't see a lot happening. There we go. See how that's kind of pinching it in. And then we did drag. I don't use move, I just use transform, but I'm assuming move is just going to, oh, wow. Okay, so move actually just moves the clay almost like inflate. So that's pretty cool. And the last thing I want to show you will not make a difference if you're printing this, but it is cool if you can't print it. You can actually paint these models. So I could go in here, I clicked on paint, I come down here, I can choose a color. I can click on paint it all if I want my whole model to be green. And then I can also go down here and choose other colors. So I'm going to try a red. I actually want that warmer red. And then I can color like the eyes in. I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can concentrate right on the eyes. Oh, too big. Control Z, we love it. For the undo. We should have done this before Halloween, right? All right, one more color, and then I'm going to move on or show you how to save and move on to the next app. Okay, so I want this really small for that little pupil. And so there's my crazy alien guy. All right, so now to save this guy, you have two options. You can save it as a SGL, which is a Sculpt GL file, and you can bring it back in later and continue to work on it. So saving it as a Sculpt GL file, you just click on Save SGL file. And you see it's going to pop up here in your downloads. It might look a little different on your computer when it's actually saving, but I will show you how to get to that downloads folder. It will definitely go into your downloads. Okay, so that's to save it to work on later. If I want to save it to give to my teacher to print, I'm going to come down here and say, save as an STL file. That's the kind of file that you can print in a 3D printer. So save as an STL, and same thing, it went up there into my downloads folder, and I'll show you where that is later. One last thing that's kind of fun, I'll see if I can do this if I have a background loaded. Again, just for a cool screenshot or share with your friends, you can actually add a background. So to add a background, you need first a photo on your computer somewhere, and you'll go down here to import, and then you find that that photo, and I had a moonscape. See, it might be here in downloads. Let's see, let me try searching. All right, guys, well, I'm not seeing that moonscape. I had it earlier, but I'm not finding it right now, and I don't want to take too much. Oh, I know. I don't want to take too much time, too much of your time. Actually, I think this is a screenshot. All right, well, we're going to skip that, but when you find the picture that you want, you just click it and it will come up on your background. One more time. On desktop. Here it is. So it's not working. Let's see. Image. Okay, so let me go back through that again because I made a mistake. You're going to go here to the type of background you want, and that's going to be image. And then you're going to go to import, find your image, which mine was a screenshot, and then double click it and it will load into your background. So that is Sculpt GL, and that's a great web app. Okay, so the next app that we're going to look at is called Tinkercad. And Tinkercad is also a web app. But for Tinkercad, you have to actually make an account. So I'm going to make this really quick in Tinkercad. So I really don't want you to work along with me because you don't really have time to make an account. But if you like this app, Tinkercad, and you want to use it, you just ask a grown-up for permission to make an account, and you can make an account using your PCS R2D2 email address. Okay, so either your parents or your teacher should be able to help you with that, but obviously you want to first ask your parents for permission. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my web browser. And I already have Tinkercad loaded, and it's just tinkercad.com. And I've already made an account, so I already have a few objects in my gallery under your designs. But to make a new object, I'm going to hit the new button over here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to make a 3D design. So it's going to start me a new 3D design. Tinkercad is kind of odd that it names your files these kind of strange names. So you can change that by clicking on it. And I would suggest that you write your name and what the object is, just to help you find it. Okay, so I'm going to keep this super simple in Tinkercad. Tinkercad is one of the most powerful 3D modeling apps. It's not a sculpting app, it's a modeling app. And so there's all of these different forms that you can add to your work plane. You can click on a form, and then you can click on your work plane, and it comes to your work plane. You can drag these little handles out to make the form larger or smaller. You can move the form up and down with these little handles. but I'm not going to do too much with forms today. One good thing about Tinkercad is there's so many tutorials online that if you're interested in this app and you want to learn it, the tutorials will step you through every single part of it. Adding a form to your work plane, moving it, stacking it, resizing it. And we don't have time to do that tonight. I'm just going to show you a quick way to make a couple cool things in Tinkercad. And then if you're interested, you can work on that on your own at any time. So I'm going to undo my sphere. And I'm going to use this little thing over here on the right, which is called the scribble tool. So I'm going to click on the scribble, click on my work plane, and it all of a sudden transforms me to a different view, which is an overhead view. And so what I'm going to do now may make more sense to you when I'm finished than it does now, but I'm going to draw an object from the side. Okay, and when I'm finished, we're going to, it's going to start out as a very thin, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it and show you. So I'm going to make a car. I'm going to start with the two wheels. So I'm just going to draw around in a circle. I want to leave a hole in the wheels so you can actually make this car so that it can really roll. You can put a toothpick in the wheels. You can make a little hole for the axles, and you can roll it just like a matchbox car. Today we're going to do the easy version, which won't actually roll. It'll just look like it has wheels, but they won't actually roll. Okay, so there is an eraser tool in here. I see a little bump on that wheel that I want to get rid of. And if you're not super crazy about your circle in the middle, which I'm not, I can go in here and I can erase this out. And remember, I'm drawing with a mouse, and it's just a little tricky to draw with a mouse. You guys have that touchpad, so that should be way easier for you. Okay, so we do want that wheel to at least look like it'll roll. Okay, so that's better. So the tools that I'm using for erasing and so forth are down here at the bottom. Going back to the drawing tool, I'm going to make the bottom of my car. I want to make it kind of a crazy race car. So I'm going to make like a weird spoiler here on the back. Come down and make my windshield. Come down and make the front of my car and back to my wheels. Okay. So then you're going to design the car, and you're just going to fill this in with lines and shapes. The only rule is all the lines and shapes have to touch at least one other part of the model. So if I draw a line like this, think about it. What's going to happen to that line when I print this object? It's not attached to anything, so it's just going to be a little line floating in the middle of the car. So I have to make sure that I attach this line at least one place on my car so that it will stay in the model. Okay, and this is going to continue to use lines to decorate this, to design it. I can add parts. I don't know a lot about cars, but sometimes they have those little things on the motor. I know some of you know those little things are. Maybe it's a manifold, or maybe I made that up. So anyway, here's my little car. And I don't like that line. So same in this app, you can probably use your, there it is, Control Z, or just press that arrow to undo it. So I'm happy with that car. And you may have noticed over here in the right-hand side of my screen, there's a little preview, and I can kind of see what's going on with my car and what it's going to look like in 3D. So when you're finished, you go down to the bottom and you click on Done, and there you have your car. You can look at your car from different angles. In this app, you can't scroll on the work plane on your computer, I don't think. You can't on my Mac. You may be able to on your touch screen to touch that grid and be able to change your view. But if you can't, you can use this little cube up here. It'll show you the front view of your car. It will show you the top view of your car, the right and the left, and so on. So my car is ready to print. I also, though, if I want to, I think I actually want to make this car a little thicker. And I'll look at it here from the side. Right, so I would like to make this car a little thicker. So if I click on it and I use, it's either the white dot or the black dot. Let's see. Okay, so you use the little black handle and you lift it up. So now my car is going to be about 19 millimeters, it'd be about a half of an inch thick. So I like that better than the way I had it before. So I'm going to go back to the front view. Oops. Go back to the front view. Go back to my top view, and there's my car. And it's ready to print. So to get this ready for your teacher to print, you're going to click on the word Tinkercad up here in the left-hand corner, and that's going to save your design and take you back to your designs. So now you can see my car in this cute little 3D view. And if I click on this square where my car is, I get even a better view of it. So it's taking a minute to what it's called render and get it actually made. And now I can, or at least I could the other day, and it's not working on this particular, oh, here we go. View in 3D. And now I can move this around and I can kind of look at it at every view. And if I decide I want it thicker, because it's going to stand up like this, so it can zip along. If I want it a little bit bigger, I can click this Tinker This button and I can change it and I can modify it. When I'm finished and I'm ready to download it to my download folder, obviously I'm going to click the Downloads button. Do you remember what kind of file we're supposed to be using? An STL file. Good. So we click the STL file and it just automatically goes to our downloads. Okay, so that's how you make something in Tinkercad. And I'm going to do one more quickie. And actually, I better show you how to get to your files first. I don't want you guys to get restless and have to go before you see how to get to your files. So to get to your files on your PC, the computer that you're using, and the reason why you want to do that is because, as I said before, your tech media person, perhaps your art teacher, may be able to print your creation. So you need to be able to give them those files. So in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is to get to your Windows Explorer window. And the easiest way to do that on your computer is to press that little key at the bottom that looks like a window, hold that down, and tap the E. And when you do that, this kind of window is going to pop up. And I haven't seen too many student computers, so I'm not sure. This is the way it was on the student computer I used. You could just click right here on the downloads folder, and it would take you to the next screen, to the downloads folder. But if you don't see this quick access in the downloads folder, you can just click on the number down here, and that will take you into your downloads folder. And once you get into your downloads folder, at the top of the list, you should see the files that you downloaded from your 3D sculpting or modeling app. And to give it to your teacher, you would put into your computer a little USB drive, or you might call it a thumb drive. And if you put that in, it will show up over here in your files. It might have a name if you named it. Mine was never named, so it's just called Untitled. And if you take your 3D file and you click it and drag it, you can put it into that thumb drive. And then, like I said, ask your teacher if they would mind printing it for you, and you're good to go. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching tonight. I hope that you learned some valuable skills. I hope you'll share those skills with your teacher. And I hope that you had a good night. And I would really, really appreciate it if you would fill out this survey before you go. I do have a question from someone about changing the color of an object in Tinkercad. So I'm going to go out of this screen real quickly and just see if I can show you that very quickly. And then I will take a couple questions if I can answer them. And then we'll go back, and if you'll just give me 2 minutes of your time to fill out that survey, I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the car. We're going to choose Tinker this. And one of you guys could be Googling how do you add color to an object in Tinkercad, because I haven't done it before. But let's see. These are all shapes, so it's not going to be there. Let's see what this is. That's visibility. Not sure what that is. Someone else is asking what brand of 3D printer would I recommend? We use a real simple, pretty inexpensive printer, which is called the Adventurer 3 Lite, Lite, and they have that printer on Amazon right now for, I believe it's $349. So it's about the same price as a laser printer. And you know, guys, I would have to do a little research here to figure out how to change the color of this. I can look that up while you guys are filling the survey out. I'm sure it's real simple. I just haven't done it before. Oh, I think I know. Click on your object, and then click on the solid dot, and then you can see your different colors. I'm not sure if you can paint different sections of this like you can in Sculpt GL, but again, that's something you can Google, coloring your object in Tinkercad, and they'll have great tutorials. Trying to read and talk at the same time. Okay, so the brand of printer I recommended was the Adventurer 3 Lite. Laura asks, how do you log into Tinkercad? You do have to use your Microsoft student account. You don't need, it's just your email. So you're not gonna, you have to use your whole email address. So it might be, you know, 61.5L at pcsb.org, and then you just follow the prompts for making an account. So if I go, let's see if I go here, if this will think I don't have an account. No, I'd have to log out. So if I log out here, and now it doesn't know I'm logged in, try to keep my eye on the questions, and you go to sign up. You're going to create a personal account. You're going to sign up with an email and put your states and your age. You probably have to be 12 to use this, but you can try it and see. And then you just go through the prompts. And I believe it's fairly simple. Again, I'll actually type my email address on that last slide, and you guys can certainly you guys can certainly ask me any questions you want through email. So he asked, do you also do lessons on this to kids? Well, this was a lesson to kids. So this is how I would teach my lesson to kids. I also have some written directions of how to make the car. If you want those, you can tell your art teacher you'd like the written directions for the car, and I will send those to her. Alicia is asking, can you use these models in a Roblox studio? Yes. So I believe if you import that STL file into Roblox Studio, that you could go ahead and continue working on it in that either 3D modeling app, or if that might be what they call a slicer, which is something that your teacher will know more about. Okay, so great questions, you guys. First thing I always recommend, even to my teachers, is to try to look it up on Google. And if you can't find it on Google, please feel free to email me. It might take me a little bit to get back to, but I will. Lucas is asking, are there any clubs or summer camps having to do with 3D printers? We will have some, we may have a complete, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, we probably will have a 3D printer camp this summer. And there may be some clubs. Ask your teacher at the school or just express interest, because we have a man who's a real expert on 3D printers, and he goes out to the schools and helps with clubs and helps teaching kids how to do this. So your best contact is your art teacher at your school. Any other questions? Hopefully you guys are just taking a second to fill out that survey for me. If you have any other questions, you can pop them in the chat, and Mr. Ogle will send them on over to me. Anyway, I want to just say thanks to you guys again. I'm going to take my face off the screen, and I just again want to thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed yourself, and just wish everybody a really great evening.